In this video, I'll go over what you need to do to make the original version, as well as take a few liberties and devise a couple of variations based on international flavors that deviate enough from the original to, I'm sure, upset some, but also create something new and delicious. Either way, I promise you that it is very easy. So if you're new here and like easy and delicious recipes, hit like and subscribe down below. Now let's get in the kitchen and make a chopped cheese. A chopped cheese in a bodega is built on a flat top. I don't have a flat top, but I do have a giant cast iron skillet which works just fine. The first thing most of these places do is press the bread on a panini press. I don't have a panini press here in my house, so what I'm gonna do is slice the bread along the axis, then I sandwich it in the oven between two oven trays, and I weigh it down with a cast iron skillet while that bread warms up. I've seen videos on YouTube where some of the places actually press it after filling the sandwich, and there are benefits to doing it either way. I personally prefer to press the bread before filling the sandwich. Now, as you heat up your cast iron pan, on a cutting board, flatten out your beef by pressing it in between two cutting boards. Sprinkle the first side with kosher salt and pepper, and then I'll show you how we season the second side as we build this thing. Now, this comes together really quickly. In the hot cast iron pan, put about a tablespoon of olive oil. This is just to coat the bottom of the pan. Saute some diced onions with a very small pinch of salt, and just let that cook up nice. Now remember, the chopped cheese does bear some resemblance to a Philly cheesesteak, so you want to get these onions nice and soft. When that happens, kick them to the side and add your patties seasoned side down on the cast iron skillet. We're gonna cook it in the same pan. We got that flavoring from the onion, and we're layering flavors here, guys. These are 3-ounce patties. You'll want to develop a nice crust on the first side, and here is where you add some seasoned salt or Goya sazon to the unseasoned side. We'll discuss this seasoning a little bit more as the video progresses. When they're nice and brown, flip those patties, let them go a moment, and now you get to chop it. Don't be shy here. Once those patties are completely broken apart, mix everything together with those onions you kicked to the side, lay your American cheese over top, and don't skimp on the cheese. Nobody said this was gonna be light food. Cover that skillet with a pan for just a moment so that cheese melts and starts to absorb into the meat. Then you're ready to build. On your counter, lay out a big sheet of parchment paper or aluminum foil. Open up your bread, add your beef concoction to the bread, being careful not to drop it all over the place. Top that with ketchup and mayo. Then add your shredded lettuce and tomato, and proceed to wrap it up like a deli sandwich. You're doing this to contain the fillings and also to allow it to steam for a good 5 minutes before you eat it. I know it's tough to wait and you want to dig right into the sandwich, but waiting 5 minutes is actually critical to this process, and that's another thing I'm going to explain a little more as this video develops. After that 5 minutes though, you could just sink your teeth in and enjoy that fatty, rich meat flavor with the sweetness of the onions and ketchup and creaminess of the cheese and mayo, and that's where it gives you kind of that reminiscent taste to a Philly cheesesteak. So amazing. Now that we know how to make the original, let's play around a little bit with some ingredients and come up with something Jamaican inspired. For this, we're gonna employ the same exact method, but instead of the seasoning salt or sazon, we're gonna substitute in some Jamaican jerk seasoning. The idea here is to lean heavily on the floral thyme, fragrant cinnamon and allspice, and all that spicy pepper in the jerk seasoning. And this is gonna amp up our meat mixture. I have another little Caribbean touch at the end of this too. Prep the bread the same exact way. In your hot cast iron pan, start with the onions, saute till soft. Kick the onion to the side, add the seasoned beef patties to the skillet, brown on the first side. You'll want to cover that first side with jerk seasoning before you're ready to flip those over. When you do flip them over, take a step back, because that capsaicin in the jerk seasoning, you will get a lungful of that and you will lose your breath. Chop up your beef, incorporate your onions, add your cheese, allow it to melt, and then build the sandwich. For this, I skipped the lettuce and tomato, and I opted for some really crispy plantain chips. I still use the same mayo. As far as ketchup, I really wanted like a nice island banana ketchup, but I couldn't find it, so regular ketchup it is. This is a highly respectable version of the chopped cheese. Definitely a humongous difference as far as the flavor profile of that filling. There's a considerable amount more going on with jerk seasoning than seasoning salt or sazon, so it shouldn't be a surprise that there's more going on. Honestly, this almost gives me like beef patty vibes, like those Jamaican beef patties you get at the bodega or pizzeria. But on the flip side, the fact that there are so many constants like the beef and the bread and the cheese makes this seem like not too far of a deviation. I have a Korean version to show you, which takes a lot more liberties with the ingredients. I'm sure is gonna get a lot of you guys fired up, good and bad. But first, I want to address a few practical considerations. As far as the bread goes, a chopped cheese is usually built on a hero roll, just like a cheesesteak, or on a hard roll. Those are the large and small versions that you would get at a bodega. Pressing the bread before you build, or pressing afterward, is common to most New York City chopped cheese sandwiches. Wrapping the final sandwich is a crucial step in building your chopped cheese, as it not only allows what's inside the bread to mingle as far as flavors, it also allows the fillings to soak into the bread and for steam to soften that roll a little bit. You're not supposed to crunch into a chopped cheese. That would be bad. The seasoning that goes into a chopped cheese is highly contested. Many people insist that the flavor that sets a chopped cheese aside is a natto flavor that comes in via Goya sazon. Other people say that what goes into a chopped cheese has to be a seasoning salt like Lowry's. This adds some garlic flavor as well as a little bit of like an MSG hit, and apparently is what the secret seasoning at Hajjis is, supposedly. When I first made it here for the channel, I used Emerald's Essence for a completely different feel. People did not like that. I did. Seasoning salt and sazon are easy enough to find at the supermarket, so start there. But if you find something better that works, I would love to hear about it. For the beef, try to stay above 20% fat. 70-30 beef lets out a little bit too much fat, and it ends up coming out a little bit greasy. The cheese here has to be American. Your classic, synthetic American cheese. Well, I'm gonna challenge that in just a second, but for general purposes, this is the only way. I personally buy a fancy American cheese called Cooper's Sharp White American. Not sponsored, but I like it because it's extra creamy. But I can guarantee you in a bodega, they ain't using anything fancy. The order of the ingredients. When I make mine, I put the meat on top of the bread. Then I top it with the condiments. That's easy to do when you have a mayo that's in a squeeze bottle, like I do here with the Kewpie mayo. You can also start with mayo on the bread and build from there. I know people have a lot of opinions about this, but I find I like how it comes out the order that I do it. That shouldn't stop you from experimenting and finding your own way that you like it. All right, now that we have all the technicalities out of the way and we've tested a couple of small variations, let's go a little bit crazier and make something Korean inspired. What I was going for here was something spicy with Korean barbecue vibes. Prep the bread same way. In your hot cast iron skillet, start with the onions. Saute till soft, kick them aside. Add your seasoned beef to the skillet and start to brown those up. As those brown, add a little bit of gochujang chili paste. When you add this paste, take a step back. As the gochujang caramelizes, the peppers in the sauce, again here, are gonna let out fumes. You will lose your breath. My smoke detector hated me on this day. Chop the beef, incorporate it with your onions, melt the cheese. This time I went for sliced deli mozzarella. I wanted something neutral, but also to call back to those deep fried corn dog things that are a popular Korean street food. These are the things that have like a half a hot dog and a cheese stick, and they're battered and fried. In my chopped cheese, the cheese pull that I was going for didn't happen, but I tried and it tasted great. Now go ahead and build the sandwich. Mind you, we're deviating quite a bit here. I'm gonna keep with the Kewpie mayo, since that's also used heavily in Korean street food. Instead of lettuce and tomato, I'm going with spicy, funky kimchi. I mean, it's basically pickled lettuce, right? To me, that satisfies that particular requirement, but also adds that like pickly vinegar taste to the mix. No ketchup because the gochujang that we added to the beef kind of acts like the ketchup substitute here. It's a little bit sweet. The next thing I did was a mistake, but I had my reasons. I found this garlic flavored crispy ramen snack, and I wanted to use that inside the sandwich to add a little bit of crunch. By the time my wrapped 5-minute steam of the sandwich was completed, they basically absorbed into the meat filling in the sandwich, so that crunch was completely gone. It did add that garlic taste, and that was pretty good though. Tasty. This one, I'm gonna admit, was definitely over the top, and I'd argue stretches the chopped cheese name maybe a little bit too much. But as always, it was fun to test out something different. What do you think? Let me know in the comments if you're gonna make a chopped cheese after seeing this. And if you wanna see what a restaurant can do with a chopped cheese, check out one of these videos on the screen right now.